You ever feel like everything you're doing is wrong? Like you might know better in your head, but at every single step it feels like you're making a mistake. And the more you try to do things right, the more you mess it up. Like everyone can see it, but you're helpless to it. And everything keeps going wrong, yet the world keeps spinning, and it all feels pointless and futile. I never felt more low in all of my life. I don't seem to fit in anywhere. I don't seem to belong. Everything I try is a disaster.
Well, try looking at life this way. People are like decks of cards. We're all part of the deck. Some are aces, other are tens or nines or twos. We can't all be face cards, can we? We can't all be kings and queens.
No, I guess not.
Maybe you're the two of clubs, Charlie Brown.
I doubt it. Even the two of clubs takes a trick every now and then. I was vaguely aware of peanuts through cultural osmosis for most of my life.
You! Charlie Brown!
Everyone loves Snoopy, and Charlie Brown is just one of those names you know. But it wouldn't be until one Christmas Eve in 2020. Christmas, or the holiday season, is a time that used to be special when I was a small child, maybe because I was still watching television and we would always do Christmas productions at school where I was involved. I was still able to buy into the myth of the whole thing, I guess. Somehow when I became a teenager though, it just stopped. I think when I was 12, I was more concerned about not being able to watch Naruto for a few hours than the glory of baby Jesus. I wonder if there's a point when you inherit seasonal depression, because from then on I don't think a single December has passed where I have not been followed by a cloud of misery. Not only did Christmas just stop feeling special, it just began to make me depressed. Like everyone's collectively decided to make a thing about this, and I don't know, and when you really think about it, it's just another day. More excuses for advertisers and corporations to shovel rubbish down our throats, traffic to fill the streets, heterosexual white people and Hallmark to wear red and green. The memories of all the things I didn't do that year to haunt me. I wasn't feeling the way I was supposed to feel. Is there something wrong with me? So it's 2020. I'm in the first year of my gap year, the period of deconstruction and reconstruction, in the early stages of that. Not really knowing what is up and what is down anymore. Everything feels pointless. In spite of having been in the same room for 8 months, everything feeling alien. Then here comes again that blessed time of year when I'm supposed to feel things. So I fire up this little half-hour cartoon special.
I think there must be something wrong with me, Linus. Christmas is coming, but I'm not happy. I don't feel the way I'm supposed to feel.
I don't know exactly what I was expecting out of this supposed children's show, but I have never been able to watch this film without crying.
Holidays always depress me.
I am generally unable to watch Peanuts specials and films without crying. It's like Boy Meets World. Even if what is happening isn't necessarily that deep, the whole atmosphere of it, the unnecessarily sentimental and melancholic Vince Guaraldi jazz, the ambiguous backgrounds and simple character designs, the characters themselves, the stories with their very ambiguous endings.
You're the only person I know who can take a wonderful season like Christmas and turn it into a problem.
Charlie Brown Christmas was directly about pretty much everything I was feeling in that moment. I don't think I've seen a film, maybe besides It's a Wonderful Life, which I also watched that December, so accurately capture how depressing this time of year can be. Holiday blues, as they usually call it, is attributed to loneliness, not being with your loved ones, some kind of past trauma, getting caught up at work, Does no one else understand how isolating it can be to be surrounded by people who make you feel like you live in another galaxy? Well, apparently, someone else did.
I think you have a customer.
I don't think I've seen a kids show go to some of the places of emptiness and detachment that Charlie Brown here is feeling. And why that is. The consumerism of it all, the mythology of it all. The fact that the climax is brought on by a character randomly reciting scripture, which is odd on its own for such a mainstream piece of pop culture, but the fact that even with that, it never felt like the show was trying to preach to me. Not really telling you where to go at all. Even suggesting that we might all be screwed. But somehow leaving you with hope anyway. How did they do that? I don't know what I thought Charlie Brown was before I watched it, but this bald, yellow, round-headed kid with his mopey self found its way into my heart, and I've been, slowly but surely, a little obsessed with Peanuts.
Well, here comes old Charlie Brown. Good old Charlie Brown. Yes, sir. Good old Charlie Brown. How I hate him.
I first wanted to make something about Peanuts, actually around the time I started making video essays, and I thought I had an interest in exploring children's media. It didn't work out though, because that isn't really what this is. The first mistake one makes with Peanuts is thinking it's for children. Children can read it, sure, but Peanuts isn't quite for children. The whole gag of it is seeing children talk like adults and contemplate about things that adults do. Half the fun of the specials is hearing the child actors read the insane lines they're being fed.
I never get what I really want. I always get a lot of stupid toys or a bicycle or clothes or something like that. What is it you want? Real estate.
I mean, they're acting like children, going through scenarios that only children do, but the way that they conduct themselves is the way that an adult might. They embody different kinds of adults, and the turmoils and conflicts that adults do. Linus is a little philosopher and theologian. Schroeder is the art genius. Peppermint Patty is an alternative girl, and Marcie is her girlfriend. Lucy is a really complicated character, who we'll get into a bit more later. And Charlie Brown, as self-insert for Charles Schultz himself, is an anxious, lonely little guy with undiagnosed depression. The gag of your average Charlie Brown strip is seeing the lengths that these people go just to torment him, or how the world itself seems out to get him. Nothing good happens to Charlie Brown, and nobody quite likes Charlie Brown. Or at least that's how he feels.
Charlie Brown is, I think, a little bit like everyone. We all need reassurance that some people really do like us. But I guess Charlie Brown is mostly me. That's why he often has that dumb expression on his face.
Stories about children, particularly teenagers, are interesting because you're looking at this strange bracket of life where you aren't quite a full person, and the world is sort of thrusting itself upon you. You're experiencing just about all extremes of the human condition without the equipment to handle it. That's teenagers. But as a child, I'd argue it's even worse. The world is happening, and it's all just kind of passing over you. You're experiencing things, all those same things, I think, but without the words to describe those things. And worse, no one takes you seriously. I mentioned before I really did not enjoy being a child.
You're weak, you're wishy-washy, you're dull, and you're boring. The way I see it, Charlie Brown, your faults simply outweigh your virtues. I wish there was some way to demonstrate what I mean. I have it. I think I can give you a graphic presentation which will help you to see yourself as you really are.
You never do anything right. You never put anything in its place. No wonder everyone calls you failure face.
Children are relentlessly cruel, and more people should recognize that. They're unbroken by the blows of the world, which means they haven't quite learned our niceties. I usually mean that in a good way, but maybe this is good in a way. But there is a complete lack of understanding of the impact of words or the notion of consequences to actions. A child sees someone with a big head, they're going to look at them and say, "Boy, that guy has a big head."
Here, run over to the drinking fountain and soak this handkerchief in cold water. You're kidding. With a head like Charlie Brown's, you'll need a bed sheet.
I'm dying, and all I hear are insults.
If they discover that saying something triggers some kind of amusing reaction from a person, they're going to do whatever they can to get that reaction regardless of how that person feels. They're not thinking at all about how that person feels. Look at the way Patty and Violet make sport out of trolling Charlie Brown by not inviting him to parties. It's funny when Lucy decides to create an entire clip show to demonstrate to Charlie Brown just how much of a loser and blockhead he is. It is extremely funny.
I'll bet if the truth were known, even your toes are fat.
This is grandmaster levels of hate. And, well, as childhood cruelty goes, this is one of those traits we carry into adulthood, though packaged in more socially acceptable ways. She could be a commentary YouTuber. Children are all often very cruel because they simply haven't learned to package their words through a filter. So by using these kids to voice thoughts we often have as grown-ups, Schultz exposes in a rawness you can't quite achieve anywhere else the very core of the human condition. And what better medium to use than the cartoon comic?
Hey, Charlie Brown. How's the friend of all mankind?
Good grief.
Well, if it isn't Charlie Brown.
Good old wishy-washy Charlie Brown. Hi, Charlie Brown. Is that your head? Or are you hiding behind a balloon?
Good grief. And what in all this world is more delightful than the gay, wonderful laughter of little children?
I don't know how I would have felt about it as a child because so much of my love and affection for this franchise and these characters is based on who I am now. The Christmas special found me in a period of disillusionment. I don't think I'd experienced as many failures then as I have now though. So many moments that make you realize truly nothing in this world is guaranteed. I still haven't experienced very much, I know in my head, but I've experienced some things, and my brain seems to age itself. I've heard Charlie Brown described as a young old man, which of course is something I've always been described as. There's not a single time I casually mention my age here and people aren't shocked. I just turned 22. I've always felt spiritually like both a little boy and an old man. I have the fear and naivety of a child, but the disillusionment and jadedness of an old man, or maybe that's just a Gen Z experience. I don't think I'd mind school at all if it weren't for these lunch hours. I guess I'll sit on this bench. I have to sit by myself because no one else ever invites me to sit with them. Peanut butter again. Oh well, Mom does her best. Those kids look like they're having a lot of fun. I wish they liked me. Nobody likes me. The PTA did a good job painting these benches. I'd give anything in the world if a little girl with red hair would come over and sit with me. I get tired of always being alone. I wish the bell would ring. A banana, rats. Mom always, well, still I guess she means well. I bet I could run just as fast as those kids. That's a good game they're playing. The little girl with the red hair is a good runner. Ah, there's a bell. One more lunch hour out of the way. 2,120 to go. The Peanuts comic strip started on October 2, 1950, and ended on February 13, 2000. Exactly on the day after its author, Charles M. Schultz, died. He drew the entire comic strip start to finish by himself, no assistants, and he fought the editors to keep his vision throughout the entire run. Schultz would then also go on to oversee and write all of the specials and merchandise that got made afterwards. And you can see it.
How much do we know about you from reading
Everything.
Charlie?
I have said that
If you read the strip every day, that is me, because everything that I know, everything I've ever read, heard, listened to, said, goes into that strip, and it's me. There's no more of me, nor is there any less of me. That's me.
Schultz says everything you need to know about him as a person can be found in the strips. And how could it not?
But most of my ideas come from my own childhood experiences. In a way, it's a little bit embarrassing to realize that maybe 40, 50, 60 million people are reading about some of the dumb things which I did when I was little.
A little bit of him and his entire psyche can be found in each of the characters throughout the comic's lengthy run, but the glue that connects them all and his most direct admitted self-insert is good old Charlie Brown. Spanning 50 years, Schultz is speaking to multiple generations throughout the comic's run, and while it does reinvent itself bit by bit throughout its run, it essentially stays the same. And the connection is found in the immortally wishy-washy terminal loser, Charlie Brown. You can see him being meted out abuse from the very first strip. He's a little doomed from the start. Initially, he's able to riff off of the others and is even a bit of a wise guy, but there is a point towards the mid-50s where he just mellows out and begins to take it. There's a point when you can see his energy dissipate as the world and those around him throw blow after blow. He grows further and further into himself, detached, or indeed detaching himself from others with their relentless cruelty. Even when he does make friends like Linus or later Peppermint Patty, there is a damage that just lies there. A cloud that follows him and paints the entire strip with this melancholic atmosphere, which is then followed in the specials.
I could just lie here all day and watch them drift by. What do you think you see, Linus?
Well, those clouds up there look to me like the map of the British Honduras on the Caribbean. And that group of clouds over there gives me the impression of the stoning of Stephen. I can see the Apostle Paul.
Well, I was going to say I saw a ducky and a horsey, but I changed my mind.
The name penis is a terrible name which was created by someone in the syndicate offices in New York when I was an unknown amateur living in Minnesota and had no way of arguing with the United Feature Syndicate and telling them that I hated the name.
Sparky Schultz hated the name Peanuts, saying he would have probably called it Charlie Brown and Snoopy. But the comic does jump between these characters, which I think is probably what kept it fresh for so long. Charlie Brown is the glue, but there are no real protagonists here. Each of them is going through their own thing. Everybody seems to want something and is refused. It's almost like some divine law. And I guess it is, because this is the world that Schultz is creating, and all of the characters are somewhat damned to it.
Or maybe if I bowled a bad game on a particular night when I feel low, this is when I come home and really pour it on poor old Charlie Brown. This is when he really suffers the most, when I suffer the most.
They're all condemned to want things, and are also condemned to never get them. I don't like fatalism.
Do you believe in fate?
You mean that our lives are predestined?
Yeah, that the things we do are inevitable.
What a scary thought.
If you're unacquainted with Peanuts, me sitting here talking about misery and the human condition might seem a bit strange. Different from the image you probably have of these comics in your mind, because that image is probably that of Snoopy. Everybody loves Snoopy. Recently it's become a whole meme. I mean, Snoopy was always a huge meme. You know, it's It's Snoopy, Snoop Dogg. You probably don't even register that as a Peanuts reference at this point because Snoopy has just become so ubiquitous. I mean, there are lots of people who don't even know that there is such a thing as Peanuts. They call it Snoopy. You see Snoopy blown up and paraded on special holidays. Snoopy merchandise is all over your stores. Snoopy t-shirts, Snoopy lunchbox, Snoopy dolls, backpacks, costumes, jewelry. Snoopy is everywhere. Snoopy is bigger than Peanuts itself because Snoopy is Snoopy. He's a mascot character, and your pop culture figure, your trinket, your PNG figure exists just as much in your home or store shelf as he does in the comics or specials. While the characters are agonizing over life's great quest in the A-plot, Snoopy will be off to the side on some strange quest that entirely exists in his own imagination. Snoopy is a skater, he's a vulture, he's a snake, he's Joe Cool, he's a grocery store clerk, he's a World War I flying ace. Snoopy is everything, and everything is Snoopy. And because everything is Snoopy, nothing is Snoopy.
I rigged a tuna fish sandwich yesterday, so I'm sure to have a tiger by now.
They like tuna fish, huh?
Tigers will do anything for a tuna fish sandwich.
We're kind of stupid that way.
Sort of like an inverse Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes, or really Calvin, is going on his own strange side quests all the time because he's a child and he can dream up his own adventures that serve as our A-plot, while he distracts himself from the misery of his real life.
Spaceman Spiff is hit. He is going down. Fortunately, our hero always buckles up. The fearless spaceman Spiff has crashed on a distant world. The planet's atmosphere is thick with noxious fumes and gases. Our hero can hardly breathe. Spiff must find help quickly. But is there any life on this hostile world? His question is answered when a hideous blob of gelatinous muck oozes out of a crevice toward him. Spiff's blaster is useless against the slime. Our hero tries to escape, but the suffocating stench envelopes him. What a disgusting fate. Yuck! I sure wish I'd brought my lunch today.
That's gross, Calvin.
Hobbes, his best friend, is as real as we the viewer can see him, but for everyone else in his world, he's merely Calvin's stuffed tiger. Calvin doesn't have very many friends. And his parents, in his eyes at least, might hate him.
Very grim, Calvin. You're still having oatmeal. Quit playing with your oatmeal and eat it, Calvin.
I'm free! Yeah! Death to oatmeal! You'll never escape, vile glop! Die! Die!
Calvin, quit! Oh no. It's your fault we didn't have a sweet little girl. Your stupid chromosome, not mine.
I just live here. Like Peanuts, Calvin and Hobbes takes us into the infinite imagination of the world of a child. Yet it is imagined because the reality of the world of a child is quite miserable. Calvin goes off on his quests and invents a world for himself where he lives in absolute freedom, perhaps at the cost of assimilating into the world around him. In pursuit of his own sincerity, he is isolated. Unlike Snoopy, Bill Watterson, its author, absolutely refused to allow the comic to become a franchise or be syndicated. You aren't seeing Calvin and Hobbes at your Macy's parade. There is no Calvin and Hobbes Christmas special. You probably see Calvin flipping you off on a car's bumper sticker. This is illegal. The comics are there on the page, trapped there. Any other life they take on is projected onto them by the imagination of the viewer. It's interesting comparing Calvin and Peanuts because Peanuts was one of the direct inspirations of Calvin, but it is one of the most commercialized comic franchises of all time.
And now, from the popular comic strip Peanuts, here are Charlie Brown and his friend.
Why, thank you, Charlie Brown. Thank you, Charlie Brown.
What's the occasion? Has Charlie Brown had another baby sister?
No, Ford has new economy twins, so he's passing out chocolate cigars to everyone.
Everyone?
While Calvin and Hobbes is notable for being maybe the only major comic strip series that only exists in its original form. As a comic strip series, Watterson still gets his money over book sales. I paid him a good few pennies to make this. I'll tell you that. Join my Patreon. It's a comedy, a satirical comedy, but it takes itself very seriously as what it is. Comics are a strange medium, and this was a strange time within it.
Peanuts was appearing in the middle of a Cold War, surrounded by Cold War comic strips, the adventure strips. And in the middle of that was this other world, which perhaps was making a statement by being the one sane feature in this madness.
Peanuts began in 1950 as a newspaper comic strip, at arguably the height of that medium's relevance, and ended when the medium began to lose favor. The funny pages literally only existed as a little treat to sell those papers. In other words, in a sense, they're ads. It's a fundamentally consumerist and anti-serious medium, and journalists low-key hated them for it, because people began to buy their papers not to see the news, but to check in with Nancy and Little Orphan Annie.
You know something?
No, what?
You read too many comic books.
Comics as a whole arguably reached their peak towards the 1960s. This is the age of Spider-Man. This is the era of the cinematic masterpiece that is Batman 66. It was the era of pop art. It was the era of merchandise. At Charlie Brown Christmas, the first Peanuts special would come out in 1965. The series would have 4 more specials and a movie by the end of that decade. Snoopy would go to space.
Head, his tail, does it matter? Can you start anywhere you want?
Well, it's best to start up with the head. I'm going to show him at his typewriter. This is the world-famous novelist.
Sparky Schultz would become a household name. Or at least Snoopy did. Everybody loves Snoopy.
I don't understand this business about death. If we're just gonna die, what's the point of living?
Well, there's seafood.
I don't know why I even talked to you before dinner.
Calvin asks Hobbes the same questions that Charlie Brown often does, except he's literally speaking to himself most of the time. His neighborhood is notably emptier, though his mind seems to be larger, maybe by design. He seems content with it, at first at least. Calvin seems to be absolutely unable to conform with the rules of the world he lives in, and it's always disappointing him. But this detachment leads to his isolation. Calvin remains himself. He keeps his sincerity, but as a result, he's sort of on his own island, kept up by the rumblings of his own mind. Calvin and Hobbes ran for 10 years during the run of Peanuts from 1985 to 1995, not because it was cancelled, it was one of the most popular comic strips of all time, but because Bill didn't want to run it dry and turn it into an imitation of itself. You ever say something so often that it begins to lose all meaning? Like you repeat a word enough that it just becomes sounds? I don't think that necessarily happened with Peanuts. I don't think Watterson is slanting it outright, because Peanuts did constantly evolve throughout its run. I think the strip, at least, always remained somewhat fresh, but how many people think the thing is called Snoopy? Oh, you know Snoopy. That cute little cartoon with the dog and his little bird friend. Skipping around with the bunny bunnies. The 70s through 80s was a time of revolution in the comic and graphic novel world. The late 60s through 70s brought the underground comics scene with the works of Crumb and Robbins and Shelton and Spiegelman.
And this bird says to me, man, greet the day like a blade of grass. Sing with the eyes, man, but dig the mower. Then the
old spider sense isn't tingling for nothing.
It was a part of the larger underground counterculture movement. Distributed through small press and often self-published, outside of the consumerist system. The content itself often being very obscene and taboo and X-rated as a means of satirizing the mainstream.
It's that web-slinging weasel!
Comics, comic books, cartoons were then still this inherent medium of commercial and establishment. A medium whose contents were considered unserious by default. Stuff for kids, or to yuck at so the paper boys have something to sell.
Roll your eyes over those crazy pajamas.
Yeah, what some cats won't do to get attention.
We don't take cartoons and the characters in them very seriously. But the movement here, the advancement of artists like Will Eisner and soon enough Art Spiegelman would change or at least challenge the mainstream opinion of comics and the stories they can tell. Eisner would use his pages to challenge God. Spiegelman would use his pages to reflect on the experiences he didn't have in the Holocaust. Even the superhero comics were becoming more reflective of themselves. Comics were changing. Newspapers weren't as dominant. Television reigned supreme, and artists were pushing the bounds of the page. Yet still, the page always somewhat confined them. Calvin, in his refusal to conform to the system, became detached. Iconic, memorable, perhaps even beautiful, but detached. Snoopy was free to be what everyone wanted him to be, or maybe damned to it. Everyone loves Snoopy. Snoopy is everything, and he is nothing. Snoopy is everyone, but Snoopy. Have you ever heard of the Great Pumpkin? Every Halloween night he sails around the world to find the pumpkin patch that is the most sincere to bear gifts. We've never seen him do it, but we wait for him every year. He's coming this time. Just trust me on this time, okay? What? Oh, it passed. December. That's what month it is. Already?
Will you be my friend, Charlie Brown?
Why, sure, Linus. I'd be glad to be your friend.
Lucy told me it was about time I made a few friends. So I figured I'd better start right at the bottom.
Linus Van Pelt is Lucy's younger brother and very well might have been Charlie Brown's first friend. He walks around with a security blanket and sucks his thumb. I used to do the same thing until I was 7 years old. Then I decided to stop. Everyone tells him to get rid of his blanket. It's a pathetic habit, but he doesn't. He can't. He goes into withdrawal.
I can't help it. I made the mistake of giving my blanket to Charlie Brown.
Besides, how else is he supposed to handle this world, I'm not kidding, by the way. On exactly my 7th birthday, I gave up sucking my finger because whenever everyone told me to stop, I said, I'll stop when I'm 7. That was a deal. And I did. On that very day. I relapsed one time in church, though.
Friends, schoolmates, teachers, countrymen. If I'm elected student body president, I will purge the kingdom. My administration will release us from our spiritual Babylon.
The way the Peanuts characters were introduced initially was very odd. They were introduced as little babies. We see infant Schroeder, who immediately grew an affinity for his toy piano. Infant Lucy, and soon enough her little brother, Linus, who is immediately introduced as a savant. Linus is a genius, above his years. He seems to immediately have this innate sense of what is, and is very frustrated with the world around him. I mean, being the younger brother of Lucy Van Pelt will do that to you, but he seems to really, really hate being a baby. Being excluded from the older kids, always getting the short end of the stick, being fed the rubbish that his older sister tells him. Well, Charlie is really the one perturbed by that. But as he gets older, he develops this acute sense of understanding of the world around him. And it scares him.
It's happening, Charlie Brown! It's happening just like they said it would!
Of course it's happening. It's snowing. What else do you expect this time of year?
Snowing? Good grief! I thought it was the fallout!
Linus holds on to that blanket as tight as he can.
On Halloween night, the great pumpkin rises out of his pumpkin patch and flies through the air with this bag of toys for all the children.
You must be crazy.
I don't know where it was that Linus heard of this great pumpkin fellow, but every year in October he has this idea that the great pumpkin comes around to the most sincere pumpkin patch to give good little boys and girls. I've never seen a chimney either, but I don't think I've ever even seen a pumpkin patch, much less a sincere one.
Oh, good grief. He'll come here because I have the most sincere pumpkin patch and he respects sincerity. Do you really think he'll come?
I didn't grow up with Santa Claus. That is genuinely a strange concept to me. The idea that children are raised with this idea that this large red fellow with a big beard will deliver gifts to all of them at light speed. Then, eventually, somehow, your parents tell you, oh, by the way, we made all that up.
If you're good, Santa Claus brings you presents, right?
Right.
If you're not good, he doesn't bring you presents, right?
Right.
Wrong. Have you ever heard of one case where that actually happened? Never. That old rascal's bluffing.
It's genuinely the strangest concept. I take my delusion seriously. If you tell me some nonsense growing up, you better mean it with your whole heart. If you're gonna be delusional, do it with sincerity.
Oh God, please help me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm at a loss. I've badly misused the intelligence you gave me. Selfish. Sorry about that. Us humans think we can play God, but we are sadly mistaken. Now look at the mess we've made and the threats we've created to our own survival. Fuck. Yeah, I know we're supposed to learn from our mistakes, but can't you just do a little, intervention here? Something subtle, maybe? Something we might not even notice? I mean, you don't have an ego, right? You're beyond ego, I would assume. So you don't require recognition for saving our sorry asses, right? Something occurs to me. Maybe you've already intervened in our affairs and we just aren't aware of it. It's certainly a possibility. If you have, well, thank you, God. Appreciate it. Do it for my grandchildren, okay? I deeply love them and can't bear the thought of them suffering. Make the world a better place for them, okay? Please, out of love. God is love, right? Yes, they have to make it a better place for themselves. I get that, but give them a little help. You know what to do. Well, again, maybe you already have. How would I know? Faith? Don't doubt? Jesus. I don't know. I don't know anything.
Charles Schulz was also heavily involved in the Church of God and served as a Sunday school teacher. He read through the Bible 3 times over, and he even made a little Christian comic for a few years about church youth going through church youth things. It is so strange. They look like really long Peanuts characters. But Linus is our little theologian.
Did you hear what that speaker said, Marcie? He said the world's coming to an end. He said we're in the last days.
I'm not sure we can believe everything we hear, sir.
The end of the world is coming. They've been saying it for over 2,000 years. But the world is coming to an end. How can it not? Everything else does. Everything but God. God is the only thing that doesn't end. But everything else is just dust. It's just wind. We came from dust, and to dust we will return. We have to. But look at you. Look at everything that's happening. Surely it must be the end of the world. Linus is one of the most complex characters in the strip, I think. Him and Snoopy. He's clearly wise above his years, but is also a little naive. A little stupid. He seems to know how life works, but his neuroticism and copes keep him pacified. Many such cases. He's a fitting best friend for good old Charlie Brown in that way.
Bang! Bang!
Cops and robbers?
Nope.
Cowboys and Indians?
Nope. Liberals and conservatives.
Linus is decidedly apolitical, as Schultz was, at least at this point. Not necessarily in a fence-sitting way, but his politics is his faith, I think. His politics is whatever he deems as righteous, Christ-like, even though he's often ridiculed for it.
And as a change of pace, rather than campaign talk, I decided to say a few words about the Great Pumpkin.
There is no sensible reason to believe in a thing like the Great Grape, but you can bet that every Halloween night he will be there waiting. And waiting. And waiting. And waiting. And waiting.
I hear you're writing a book on theology. I hope you have a good title.
It's much easier to imagine things coming to an end than actually picking up the pieces to make it better. The idea of calamity, the concept of it is... it's exhilarating almost. Can't you just imagine it? The great escape, the end of it all, the large charade, the curtain call, the clouds, darkening, thundering. There it is. The misery. You know what a storm looks like when it's coming? Like a real storm. A simple shower you see the clouds rolling in, but a real storm, a big one. You don't see anything. Literally nothing. Jarringly nothing. It's dry, might even be blazingly hot. But off in the distance, the far, far distance, you look out and see nothing but darkness. Just not even an outline of clouds. You see nothing. Abyss. You may not even realize that it's coming. But by then, you're already at its mercy. Just let it happen.
By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go into a place which he should after receive for inheritance, obeyed, he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Through faith, also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the sea shore innumerable. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims of the earth.
Do you think there's a God? Well, somebody's out to get me.
For a few years now, I've been afraid of everything. I'm never not deeply afraid. I don't know when it started. I couldn't really tell you, but I've always been deeply afraid. What Soren Kierkegaard, father of existentialism, calls a leap of faith is coming to that realization that the aesthetic life, that of hedonism and pleasure, is completely pointless. So is that of the ethical life of duty and ritual. It has come to the realization that nothing on earth will ever bring us happiness, but clinging on to faith anyway. It may very well all be wrong. You may die and realize there is no light after the rain, or more accurately, not realize anything at all. But you might as well live as though there might be. It's like something my grandmother, preacher's wife, heavily church, literally has an encyclopedic Bible knowledge, said to me and my sister some years ago when my sister was getting baptized. Maybe you don't know for certain. Maybe we are all wrong. But so what? What's it gonna hurt to be a little stupid?
You heard what that speaker said, Chuck. He said we're in the last days.
I know. I heard him say the world's coming to an end.
Marcie said the world can't end today because it's already tomorrow in Australia.
Maybe we should go to Australia.
Don't make jokes, Chuck.
When I started writing this, there was a suicide epidemic. It almost feels controllable, a thing like that, because the threat is internal. I feel like there are always ways to save people, to pull them out of it. I still believe in that, maybe. Maybe still naive in that way. Because you could always kill yourself. Or you could not. Then when I was halfway through writing this, came the storm. Then everything felt meaningless. And I had to face reality. I could just not be here anymore. It could just end. Curtains. Silence. In just a second, everything and everyone you know could be gone. It's very difficult to gain things and very easy for them to slip away or be taken. I have never not been deeply afraid, maybe. I don't remember when I was last not afraid. Everything I've ever done is in spite of being deeply afraid. I couldn't tell you what the winds sound like. I couldn't tell you what the winds sound like.
I was robbed! I spent the whole night waiting for the great pumpkin when I could have been out for tricks or treats! You blockhead! I'll sue!
At every step, there's despair. Every choice, every moment, despair. To live is to despair. But to despair is to live. According to Soren Kierkegaard, this despair is evidence of life. The anxiety is evidence that you're coming closer to truth. Every life is despair. So there must be joy in despair. In the misery. You could lose everything. None of it really matters in the end. This isn't heaven. It's all temporal. All this is gonna end, anyway. In 500 years, what'll be the difference? What sound could be louder than absolute silence? For a few moments, I'll leave you to hear the sound of your own world. The illusion is broken. The fog lifts. I hate the silence. I hate the silence. It was quiet. It was silent. I couldn't tell you what the silence sounds like. I can't tell you what silence sounds like. You cry out and nothing answers.
Goodbye. Till next year, oh great pumpkin. Farewell, farewell, farewell.  'Farewell. 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 Who am I kidding?
There is no clearer sky than the day after a storm. It's as if nothing happened. It's like nothing happened. It is funny the places where Linus is wise versus the place where he's an idiot. It's like selective incompetence, or maybe selective delusion. There are moments when he chooses to be the wise, level-headed sage, and times when he chooses to be the fanatic. What a boring existence it would be to have your whole head all the time. So wait up for the great pumpkin.
I've done a lot of stupid things in my life, too.
Stupid? What do you mean, stupid? Just wait till next year, Charlie Brown. You'll see.
You'd think by now we would have learned our lesson.
May I ask a question, sir? I don't really wish to interrupt.
I think I'll leave.
I also don't wish to be rude. Just as a matter of curiosity, sir. Has it ever occurred to you that you might be wrong?
The world doesn't end. It isn't that simple. Things don't just end. Our puny human minds can't comprehend it, but things don't just end. Things keep happening. Relentlessly. And we keep having to go on. We keep going on. Somehow, we keep going on. You beckon for answers, and you get none. Linus clings to his blanket as tight as he can.
What's the cure for disillusionment, Charlie Brown?
Chocolate cream and a friendly pat in the back.
Good old Charlie Brown.
I'm gonna mangle you. I'm gonna annihilate you.
I used to hate Lucy. Lucy's a bully. In every sense of the word, she's a bully. She's a little bundle of wrath, who seems to derive absolute and complete glee from putting others down, preying on the weak, the vulnerable. This usually means the brunt of her anger is exacted on Charlie Brown. I love how people who don't know anything about Peanuts see these cute little characters and assume this is some cute little comic about happiness and friendship when we have Lucy physically and verbally abusing people in every other strip. I didn't realize how much the cultural sensibilities to this stuff changed so much until I see how many strips have Lucy just straight up belting Charlie Brown. And poor Linus, no wonder he needs his blanket.
Oh no, not again.
What in the world is the matter with you?
I'm aware of my tongue.
You're what?
I'm aware of my tongue. It's an awful feeling. Every now and then I become aware that I have a tongue in my mouth and then it starts to feel all lumped up.
That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard.
I can't help it. I can't put it out of my mind. I keep thinking about where my tongue would be if I weren't thinking about it, and then I can feel it pressing against my teeth. Now it feels all lumped up again. The more I try to put it out of my mind, the more I think about it.
Good grief. Oh no. Now you ought to knock your block off.
Lucy basically spawned from two characters, who are more common earlier in the comic, Patty and Violet. Patty was one of the first characters. In fact, in the very first strip, it was she and Shermie, the big kids, who give Charlie Brown a warm time. Patty always insulted Charlie Brown whenever she could. though at this point, Charlie had the energy to get his legs in sometimes too. Early Charlie Brown was a bit of a troll, actually. But then Violet was introduced, almost as a response to the rest of the characters, and she was actually very nice to Charlie Brown. In fact, they had a little thing going on. She'd make him mud pies and just hang out with him. It is believed by many that Violet was based on Charles Schultz's first wife. And she definitely was the prototype for Lucy. In fact, the very first football gag was actually with Violet. And it was a genuine accident. But something happens. Violet spends more and more time with Patty. And little by little, they start to team up and tease Charlie Brown. A little. Just a bit of riffing among friends, among kids. Then it became taunting. Then they derive glee for just coming up with elaborate ways of not inviting Charlie Brown to their party, just to make him feel bad. We see very gradually, it goes from banter among friends to insulting and just beating him up. Charlie Brown slowly loses his spirit. Where he used to tease them as well, he just has to take it. It honestly makes me sad sometimes seeing what becomes of the relationship between Violet and Charlie. There truly is just nothing left. I used to hate Lucy.
She must think I'm the most stupid person alive.
Come on, Charlie Brown. I'll hold the ball and you kick it.
As Patty and Violet slowly phased out of the comic, it was clear that Lucy took on their worst traits. Except, unlike Patty and Violet, who seemed to just take delight in putting down Charlie Brown, almost as an afterthought, Lucy has genuine rage. Anger, frustration, misery. Linus is victim to her tempestuous storm most frequently. For being the anxious cerebral who unfortunately shares the same roof as her, his blanket pisses her off. Deal with life like the rest of us.
That's what I think of your box of cookies. That's what I think of your old piano. That's what I think of your old stamp collection. And that's what I think of your old puzzle. And that's what I think of your stupid old marbles. That's what I think of your silly old color crayons. I'm frustrated and inhibited, and nobody understands me.
If there's one character that a grouchy guy like Oscar could identify with, who would that be?
I think Lucy. Because Pigpen may have my admiration about getting all messed up. Lucy, what a grouch. Yeah, Lucy.
Lucy does not believe in escapism. In fact, she doesn't seem to believe in very much. The topic of religion makes her uncomfortable. The only one who gets to see anything resembling a soft side to her is Schroeder.
Schroeder, or Schroeder as he's known in Germany, is the most cryptic of the characters in some way. He is a little bit of an enigma, Beethoven and so on.
Yeah.
How did Schroeder evolve?
Schroeder, it's been a toss-up for me which character I connect to more. Charlie Brown or Schroeder.
But I like Beethoven and Brahms and all of those great men, and I just think it's kind of neat showing complicated musical scores that are actually the scores.
Those are the real musical figures,
yeah.
Schroeder plays his piano. From when he was an infant, first introduced to the strips way, way, way back, Schroeder has played his piano. Schroeder loves Beethoven, Brahms, baseball, and his piano. The world itself seems to pass by while Schroeder plays his piano. But to Schroeder, the world opens through his piano. Linus clings to the comfort of his blanket to soften the blows of the world, But Schroeder lives in the world which opens with his piano. He's a bit blunt, a bit detached. He doesn't always seem to live in the world around him. He exists and is forced to put up with it sometimes. But Schroeder comes to life when he's playing his piano. All else is noise, but a world opens with his piano.
Schroeder, do piano players make a lot of money?
Money? Who cares about money? This is art, you blockhead. This is great music I'm playing, and playing great music is an art. Do you hear me? An art. Art, 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 art.
You fascinate me.
This world makes no sense. People are always doing things that disturb me, yet I'm forced to live in it. Cooperate with it sometimes.
Amplifier? Hey, where do you plug in the piano? Ugh.
Say, Schroeder, isn't today the day you promised to come over and play Three Blind Mice for my baby brother?
Only 3 years old and I'm already forced to go commercial.
What kind of piano is this? No plug for the amplifier?
The only world Schroeder has control over is that created with his piano, as he speaks to everyone who's ever spoken or never will speak throughout the course of all history, throughout all of time, in the world of sound, in the world of art. For how much I've always connected to Schroeder, it's surprising just how minimal his role is within the strip. Because what we see of him really is just that. Schroeder plays his piano. That is all we are maybe able to see. Yet I understand.
A young man these days has to work very hard to be able to support a wife, doesn't he?
Who said anything about a wife?
Do piano players make a lot of money, Schroeder?
Some do.
Keep practicing, kiddo. Incidentally, who's this, George Washington?
Lucy doesn't. She can't. All she knows is the silence, the screaming, the rejection, the constant, incessant rejection. Lucy screams at everyone in the strip. Lucy holds control over every other frame. She even does battle with Violet and wins, because Lucy is a force to be reckoned with. But not against Schroeder. No matter how much she tries, what tactic she plays, she just cannot reach Schroeder.
Do you know the tortures of the memory of a lost love? It's awful! It will haunt you night and day. You'll wake up at night screaming. You can't eat. You can't sleep. You want to smash things. You'll hate yourself and the world and everybody in it. Oh! Are you sure you want to risk losing me?
I used to hate Lucy.
I have a lot of questions about life, and I'm not getting any answers. I want some real, honest-to-goodness answers. I don't want a lot of opinions. I want answers.
Would true or false be alright?
Peanuts went through a lot of evolution, as we've established by now, and Lucy, as mentioned, was spawned as a successor of Patty and Violet, but not initially. In that first year, we were introduced to the infant Schroeder, but then the next year, we were introduced to another infant.
Charlie Brown!
Oh, good grief.
Lucy bugs Charlie Brown. She annoys him, but not deliberately. Lucy is a little kid who just wants the attention of Charlie Brown, but he views her as an annoying little brat. She wants him to read stories for her, to play with her, and Charlie just can't stand it. So he starts to troll her. It is so interesting just how mean Charlie used to be to Lucy. Charlie was getting it from the older kid, sure, but then he takes it down to Lucy. Lucy soon learns to press his buttons too. She begins trolling him little by little, but for her, it was always playful. But still, facing rejection after rejection, she grows more aggressive.
I want to know about life. I want some real answers.
5.
5?
I thought it was a pretty good answer.
Constantly trying and failing to reach people, the anger builds. She creates her own world, in her own image, but still, somehow, it comes from a place of love.
Life is a mystery, Charlie Brown. Do you know the answer?
Be kind, don't smoke, be prompt, smile a lot, eat sensibly, avoid cavities, and mark your ballot carefully. Avoid too much sun, send overseas packages early, love all creatures above and below, ensure your belongings and try to keep the ball low.
Hold real still, because I'm gonna hit you a very sharp blow in the nose.
The dreadful thing I've come to realize is that Lucy and Charlie Brown are friends. You'll see them just hanging out, holding a vibe, meditating together. You'd wonder why, since they apparently can't stand each other, but the dreadful thing is, I think she loves him. I think Lucy loves all her friends. And they piss her off because she loves them. She genuinely wants Linus to give up the blanket and face the world because she won't always be there to protect him. Charlie Brown might genuinely be the Charlie Browniest, and she wants to save him from himself.
Even your nose is fat.
Nothing ever works.
Dance, dance, dance. If you keep on hanging around with that stupid dog, Linus, you'll end up just as worthless as he is. 500 years from now, who'll know the difference?
Nothing's working. Nothing ever works.
I don't like you, Mother. I don't like Daddy either. And I don't like my baby brother. I don't like anybody. I don't even like myself.
What do you do with the mad that you feel when you feel so mad you could bite? When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong and nothing you do seems very right. It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think this song. I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish, can stop, stop, stop anytime. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can.
Thomas Hobbes, not that one, believes the natural state of man is that of lawlessness and chaos. We have rules that we collectively agree upon as a society because without them we will eat each other. These rules can either be written down or collectively agreed upon by society. I talk about social contract theory a bit, and Hobbes is one of the great proponents of this.
Nobody should be kept from being queen if she wants to be one. It's undemocratic.
Oh, good grief.
I have a love-hate relationship with contract theory because these unwritten rules are why society is able to function. These rules are why you and I are alive today. They're also responsible for all our miseries.
Your brother pats birds on the head.
What in the world do you think you're doing? Do you realize that people are coming up to me and saying, your brother pats birds on the head? Well, I want you to stop it. Do you hear me? Stop it! What?
Lucy loves rules, especially the ones she invents herself. Society works a certain way, or at least it ought to. And everything wrong that's ever happened has happened because of people's violation of these rules. We don't have to understand these rules. We don't even have to agree with them. But these rules exist for a reason.
What's wrong with patting birds on the head?
It humiliates your sister to have people go up to her and say your brother pats birds on the head.
I can understand that, but what's wrong with it? It makes the birds happy, it makes me happy. So what's really wrong with it?
No one else does it.
So what do you do when they get violated? How can you go on when rules don't work, or people trample all over them? You force things to go a certain way, but no one seems to get it. At every step, Lucy tries to help the people around her, but she keeps isolating them. It's so clear to Lucille what their problems are. It's so clear what's going on. It's so clear why everyone's miserable. But they keep going on.
I'm looking for the answer to life, Schroeder. What do you think is the answer?
Beethoven! Beethoven is it! Clear and simple. Do you understand?
But they're nonsense. So you keep screaming and screaming, belting them, fix your life or else. But nothing's working. Nothing's working. Nothing's working. The anger. Maybe none of this is real. But it better be.
Poets tell us that the answers to life can be found in the stars. Stupid poets!
Snoopy is not real.
I made myself the poet of the world. The white man had found a poetry in which there was nothing poetic. The soul of the white man was corrupted, and as I was told by a friend who was a teacher in the United States, the presence of the Negro besides the white is, in a way, an insurance policy on humanas. When the whites feel that they have become too mechanized, they turn to the men of color and ask them for a little human sustenance. At last, I have been recognized. I was no longer a zero.
Of all the characters, Snoopy is the one who openly questions life's meaning the most. Because his life, canonically, means nothing. Charles Schulz's theology evolved over the course of the years. Of course it did. I wouldn't want to believe the same things at 27 as I do at 70. But in the Christian religion, traditionally, it is not believed that animals are on the same level as humans. Adam and Eve are the ones who named them because we, as humans, are set apart. We're made in the image of God. Though there is a verse in my favorite book, Ecclesiastes, which says otherwise. In the Western tradition, it is not traditionally believed that animals have an afterlife. They don't have souls in the way that we humans supposedly do. All the kids have their own worries, tears, and fears, but in the mind of their creator, probably, they're going to be alright. They're going to heaven. Snoopy may very well be the only character who, in the mind of his own creator, is not. Snoopy has no soul. Snoopy genuinely has no purpose. His life, canonically, within the text, has no meaning. And he seems to know that.
Humans are infinitely superior to dogs. Who discovered America? A human, that's who. Who discovered electricity? A human, that's who.
Snoopy is a cartoon dog, and he is reminded of it at every step. He has to be fed, usually by Charlie Brown, that round-headed kid.
Oh, it's supper time, yes, supper time. Ooh, it's supper time, very best time of day.
In the early strips, he was basically the neighborhood dog. It was all very vague as to whether any of the kids actually owned him, but eventually, as we know, Snoopy became Charlie Brown's dog. Snoopy's whole existence at a point was to be Charlie Brown's dog, and he seems to know that, and hate it. Snoopy is sometimes shown to be openly antagonistic towards the kids. Everyone's always telling Snoopy what to do, where to go. He depends on Charlie Brown for food. He can go wherever he wants to, but he ultimately has to come back.
Hey, you're back. I heard about Lila. Did you see her? Was she well? Can I do anything for you? I'm not getting any answers.
So we start seeing him doing impressions, trying to reach out of himself, creating these characters, trying to be anyone or anything else.
What he's trying to do.
What?
Inventing a life for himself, even twisting the eternal logic of his medium. This is also why he might be one of the few characters who seems to be aware that he is in a comic strip. You know, when you're set apart from anything long enough, you begin to see it for what it is. You know, none of this is real, really. None of it is. What are we doing here?
I often feel envious of others. The way they can immerse themselves in a world with so little effort. The way they can just believe.
You ever look at a thing so long you see it blur?
Look, I caught a butterfly.
If people could put rainbows in zoos, they do it.
Snoopy realizes that none of it is real because of his own exclusion. When you're out of the picture, you start to see the frame. So he dances. He dances. Snoopy grows so cognizant of his own medium that he defies it, he transforms it, he rejects it, and reinvents it. Snoopy is not a dog. He's the World War I flying ace. He's Joe Cool. He's a helicopter. He's everything. Snoopy is everything. Snoopy is everything. A philosophy lecturer, an Indian philosophy lecturer I had, said this to me one time, that Western philosophy's greatest and worst trait is its dependence on calculus. The obsession with the mind, and the mind's separation from the body. Dualism. The cornerstone of all the traditions is this separation of mind and body. From Plato's cave to Descartes, there is this idea that the mind and the body are separate, and truth lies beyond what you see. It's beyond that which is tangible. Your true self is in the mind, and the mind is somewhere else. All the shallow shackles you see around you are mere imitation. All these words we've invented, temporal and ultimately futile attempts to reach a truth and fill a void that's been created within us in this realm. Which must be true to some degree. But what is that mind? How do you know things at all? How is it that truth is created? How is that truth created? Is it created at all? Is it found? Is anything you even think in your head innate? Is it built from other very material, very tangible things? Sight, sound, touch, smell. What are you anyway? Snoopy scares me a little. The way this small creature, created as a small pal to the protagonist, completely subsumed the entire franchise in the public eye.
No dogs allowed.
From his own exclusion, he transforms, morphing into something larger than himself and indeed the entire strip. How many people know about Snoopy and don't even know that there's a comic called Peanuts?
What?
Snoopy inflates to such a degree, he sort of clouds the sky and becomes something unrecognizable, yet we accept it because it is Snoopy.
Let's hurry down this hill and go home.
What's the rush?
There's a TV show on sledding I want to watch. In my opinion, television validates existence. Take the sled ride, for instance. The experience is fleeting and elusive. By tomorrow, we'll have forgotten it, and it may as well have not even happened. But if we're on TV now, countless viewers would share in the event and confirm it. This ride would become a part of a mass consciousness. And on TV, the impact of an event is determined by the image, not its substance. So with some strong visuals, our sled ride could conceivably make us cultural icons. Instead of boring old Calvin and Hobbes, we'd be Calvin and Hobbes as seen on TV. Wouldn't that be great? Don't you wish we were on TV?
At this moment, I like my anonymity.
I think we should go for the highbrow public TV audience, don't you?
We tend to view any and everything that is unrecognizable as an object. When it cannot speak or speaks in a way that we do not recognize, we view the thing as being something lower than ourselves. It is an obstacle. An object is anything which opposes. A threat is anything which challenges. Communism is a threat to American capitalism because it's different. English speakers wield power in the world because they recognize each other. People who speak or write in other languages are seen as threats because the English speaker is challenged. The plant cannot speak for itself, so it is trampled. The mangroves do not make money, so they are wiped out. The savage does not speak our languages, wear our clothes, or eat our food, so they must be corrected. They can't think for themselves anyway.
I'm not getting any answers. I can't stand it.
Western thought's greatest and worst trait is its obsession with its own mind. Everything must be explained to be valid. Everything must be understood to be accepted. The absence of clear answers is a challenge. Understanding through any body part besides the brain is a threat. No dogs allowed.
No dogs allowed.
We gave Snoopy life, and we can take it away just as easily. Dance, Snoopy. Dance. His joy is ours. What else is he going to do? He lives and dies on the page, the screen, the Macy parade. He is everywhere. Snoopy is everywhere. And he's ours. To be eaten. Bought, sold, packaged, and remade in our image. He means whatever we want him to mean. He transcended his medium but then entered ours. Now his existence conforms to our rules. His existence is relative to us. Once devoid of a soul, we gave him one. Once undefined, now given meaning. How boring would our lives be if we didn't have Snoopy? Somebody once said, the enemy of society is the middle class, and the enemy of life is middle age. The middle class is a void. It is the society that does not exist, yet exists everywhere. They are the class that has the least to worry about and yet worries about the most. They could gain it all or lose it all given the right circumstances. The state of pretty much being okay but still in desperate need. To know you'll make it through the month, yet still never quite be sure. The middle class is everywhere, yet it doesn't exist at all. The Peanuts occupy this strange space, this void of nothing. In the comics, you'll always see them on some vague sidewalk, picket fence, brick wall, doorstep, the most conventional living room you've ever seen. Everyone's getting Christmas presents. Everyone's going to the same school. In the specials, they speak against some vague colored background, the painting of one's imagination. They move around it like little concepts bouncing off of each other, because that is quite literally what they are. Little concepts bouncing off of each other in a strange void of non-existence. Concepts are understood by all, but the particularity of what they mean is where we get subjective. Everyone knows the concept of death, but no one knows for sure what that means. The same goes for life. Only the middle class has the luxury of agonizing about most of these things. The poor are thinking about survival, and the wealthy are thinking about status. All the vague in-betweens are the thoughts of the middle class. Calvin is also middle class. Most of these characters you'll find in cartoons are middle class. Because like children, this is an interesting aesthetic playground. The middle class psyche is the playground of ideas whose consequences are hardly felt by its inhabitants. The most comfortable prison you'll ever find.
Why do we have to have all this pressure about grades, Linus?
Well, I think that the purpose of going to school is to get good grades. So then you can go on to high school, where the purpose is to study hard so you can get good grades so you can go to college. And the purpose of going to college is so you can get good grades so you can go on to graduate school. And the purpose of that is to work hard and get good grades so we can get a job and be successful, so that we can get married and have kids so we can send them to grammar school to get good grades so they can go to high school, to get good grades so they can go to college and work hard.
Good grief.
It took hundreds of years for these woods to grow, and they leveled it in a week. It's gone. After they build new houses here, they'll have to widen the roads and put up gas stations, and pretty soon this whole area will just be a big strip. Eventually, there won't be a nice spot left anywhere. I wonder if you can refuse to inherit the world.
I think if you're born, it's too late.
The sidewalk of nowhere is the exact place where conceptual Charlie Brown might fill his head with unnecessary worries, where voices in his own mind would keep him paranoid. The children must invent things to worry about, invent struggles. The adults don't really care about them. They hardly exist at all. Reality is that which the middle class invents and situates itself within.
La realtà sono queste forme nella sommità dei cieli.
In this connection, I should say something that I have found in many other writers. Intellectual alienation is a creation of middle-class society. What I call middle-class society is any society that becomes rigidified in predetermined forms, forbidding all evolution, all gain, all progress, all discovery. I call middle class society a closed society in which life has no taste, in which the air is tainted, in which ideas and men are corrupt. And I think that a man who takes a stand against these deaths is in a sense a revolutionary.
The middle class does not exist. The middle class is all, and it is nothing. If it was to exist, it would cease to be. It must maintain its non-existence. It must continue to put on, to wear clothing, to masquerade as a thing, to disguise itself from itself. It hides itself from its own non-existence. I'm sick of talking about these white people. But who invented the middle class?
Soavi forme di cancro, armi della lotta di classe, coperchi del terrore che domina il mondo, rose rognose della guerra, seminata dalla lotta di classe.
La classe padrona della bellezza, fortificata dall'uso della bellezza, giunta ai supremi confini della bellezza, dove la bellezza è soltanto bellezza.
Look, Franklin, I'm wearing shoes. I learned that you can't fight City Hall, battalion headquarters, and the dress code.
Nope, I guess you can't.
These are nice shoes, but I miss my sandals.
All I know is any rule that makes a little girl cry has to be a bad rule.
Peppermint Patty, Marcie, and Franklin live in another neighborhood. Each of them is introduced towards the end of the 60s and early 70s, and some have interpreted them, and by some I mean I have interpreted them, as representing a new age of ideas that were arising at this time, or more accurately, the worlds that have been forgotten. Charlie Brown and his friends are Minnesota, where Schultz grew up, but Peppermint Patty and her squad are California, where he lived for most of his working life.
You kinda miss me, Chuck?
Well,
Peppermint Patty is a tomboy. She's good at baseball, wears sandals, and has her own nicknames for the rest of the kids. Marcie's her... To get away from the fan canon for a second, Marcie and Peppermint Patty are two sort of downbeat alternative girls. Marcie is kinda coded neurodivergent. They're not aggressive like Lucy and her ancestors. They're not modern TM like Sally. They're like the 1970s response to the social outcasts that a 1950s Charlie Brown represented. They're still outcasts, each in their own way, but of a fundamentally different flavor.
Is this your beach ball?
Hey, yeah, thank you very much.
I was swimming out there and it came floating by.
My silly sister threw it into the water.
I see you're making a sandcastle. It looks kind of crooked.
I guess maybe it is. Where I come from, I'm not famous for doing things right.
Franklin famously was introduced after the assassination of Martin Luther King. Schultz was asked to introduce a black character to the strip in a letter, but initially resisted, not for racist reasons, but because he honestly didn't want to misrepresent the black experience or be tokenistic. But after further pushing, he did it anyway. And Franklin became the first regular, non-stereotypical black character in a comic strip. White America was very cool and chill about this, as you might imagine.
Tomorrow's the deadline on the dress code thing, Franklin. Either I show up wearing a dress, or I get kicked out of school. Isn't that piggy?
I think there's something wrong with the whole system, but I don't know what we can do about it.
If they ever lower the voting age to 7, look out.
People protested over this 1970s strip because he and Patty were sitting next to each other in school. And I think that this whole story arc Peppermint Patty that is, finds herself in is representative of a lot of things. You don't notice how closed off Charlie Brown and his own neighborhood is until these characters are introduced. How small it all is.
Listen to that music, Chuck. It's a carnival. Doesn't that do something to you? Listen. It's a beautiful evening, Chuck. The air is warm, the sky is filled with stars, and I've got a whole pocket full of tickets for the carnival. Come on, let's go.
Peppermint Patty is my favorite character, I think. I relate the most to Charlie Brown and Schroeder, and Linus and Snoopy make me think, but I really enjoy seeing Peppermint Patty.
You kind of like me, don't you, Chuck? I'm glad you don't come right out and say it, though. I respect you for that.
That's all I need. Respect.
I don't know if I relate to her directly, but she shakes up the whole feel of the strip in such a refreshing way. With the inclusion of her and her friends, Charlie Brown for the first time seems like someone who lives in a place.
This is what happens on Halloween night, Marcie. The great pumpkin rises out of the pumpkin patch and flies through the air and brings toys to all the children in the world.
I've heard about you.
While before the characters took on this sort of conceptual symbolism, the introduction of even one character wasn't wide gives them context.
Sometimes, when two people walk home from a carnival, they hold hands.
I know. I used to think about what it would be like walking home from a show or a carnival or something, holding hands with a little red-haired girl, and I think I blew it.
The introduction of a girl who doesn't act like she, according to society, is supposed to, makes you contemplate even Lucy. Even the small detail of the fact that she doesn't have a mother.
Hello, Chuck. Did I wake you up? I've been waiting for you to call and apologize, but I guess you're not going to, are you?
Well,
Good night, Chuck.
It's never outright said, but it is suggested that she and her community are less privileged than Chuck and the rest of them.
That Chuck, he's something else. I don't know why I even think about him. Chuck just doesn't seem to understand a girl's emotions. In fact, Chuck doesn't seem to understand girls at all. Chuck is hard to talk to because he doesn't understand life. He doesn't understand laughing and crying. He doesn't understand love and silly talk and touching hands and things like that. He plays a lot of baseball, but I doubt if he even understands baseball. I don't think you understand anything, Chuck.
I don't even understand what it is I don't understand.
It's not as direct as Lucy is with Schroeder, or even Sally is with Linus. It feels organic the way that Peppermint Patty feels about Charlie Brown. The aforementioned examples are they're like Shakespeare. They're symbolic, as I said before, but I believe Peppermint Patty in a way I don't with the other characters because of how messy it is. How imperfect.
Me? Me in love with Chuck? How could anybody ever be in love with boring, dull, wishy-washy old Chuck?
I thought I heard someone sigh.
The idea of anyone liking Charlie Brown is alien, perhaps even to Charlie Brown. And Peppermint Patty herself doesn't seem to understand what she feels either. She knows he's a schmuck. She knows of all the Charlie Browns, he's the Charlie Browniest. But suddenly this strange world takes shape.
You touched my hand, Chuck.
You kind of like Chuck, don't you, sir?
He's over there and she's over here. Might as well be in different universes. And she knows it. Perhaps that itself is a thrill, even though in this universe, it isn't going anywhere. Nothing ever happens in this universe. It's very silent.
I stood in front of that little red-haired girl, and I saw how pretty she was. Suddenly, I realized why Chuck has always loved her, and I realized no one would ever love me that way. I started to cry, and I couldn't stop. I made a fool out of myself, but I didn't care. I just looked at her, and I cried and cried and cried. I have a big nose, and my split ends have split ends, and I'll always be funny looking. And I think I'm gonna cry again.
I don't know if she really likes Charlie Brown. But I don't know if Charlie Brown really likes the little red-haired girl either. Peppermint Patty is like a mirror to him. They're very unlike in all the obvious ways, but internally, I don't know. They're almost identical, like in a deeper way than most of the other characters in this. It's as if through him, she's seeing something of herself and doesn't know what to do with it. What comes out is this longing, all this longing, perhaps a doomed longing, that she's afraid of, but needs. Even though she knows all she can get back is silence. She only kinda likes him. Anything else would be too dangerous.
Boy, you must think I'm stupid. You just want to hold that football and have me come running up to kick at it so you can pull it away and see me fall flat on my back!
Do you want to kick the habit, or don't you?
Schultz describes Peanuts as being about bullying. I've heard others describe Peanuts as being about unrequited love. I think it goes deeper and broader than that.
Why, oh why do I let her do this to me? Why? Why?
I think Peanuts is about silence. It's about people wanting things and not getting them.
Would you like to see how that looked on instant replay? Hum-de-dum.
Instant replay?
It's about endless longing and not getting that thing back. If someone in Peanuts wants something, just as a rule, they aren't going to get it.
No dogs allowed.
The kids don't age yet time clearly passes. They refer to the passage of time, to things that happened last year or the year before. But they're trapped. Each of them. Even if what you supposedly want is right before you, you're not going to get it. Maybe after a point you don't know how to. We're all trying to escape the boredom. The silence. So they long. They take things on, constantly trying to grasp something, and constantly being disappointed. How long can a person be somewhere before they make that place their home? To make a home of longing, I need more things. We always want more things. Wanting and wanting, avoiding the silence, that loud, deafening, boisterous silence. Am I doomed? It's Christmas again. How the hell is it Christmas again? I've reached the age where I'm having to start accepting things about myself. I'm always trying to define and redefine, but it's reached that point where it's clear at this point some stuff's just me. I think I'll always have a little cloud following me. It may not always be over me, but it will always just be somewhere near.
If I don't draw for a while, I get really crazy. I start feeling really depressed and suicidal if I don't get to draw. But then sometimes when I'm drawing, I feel suicidal too, so.
The really, really interesting, depressing but interesting thing I've observed over the past year or so working on my fiction again, reconnecting with my comic book / manga / graphic novel roots. What a miserable set of people.
そうだね、僕はだから今何よりもとにかく一番悩んでることっていうと絵でしょうな。本当に描けない僕は絵が。
Not always necessarily depressed, but oh god. All my goats are a sad bunch. I mean, I know you have to be built a certain way to be able to make this kind of thing, sitting down for hours upon hours upon hours at a time, alone, crafting entire worlds, characters with your pen. You're doing the job of a director, screenwriter, painter, poet, cinematographer, editor all at once. And it's for a medium that people traditionally see as being low. All my goats lived a long time ago and usually get their start or reach mastery when they're in their 50s. I haven't started properly yet and I feel washed up already. I mean, I've been making these since I was 12. I've been working for 10 years. actively trying to hone my craft for 8, trying to make a name for myself for 5. I planned to publish this thing last year, but I was too busy making money and studying. Then this year, David Lynch died, and in his honor, I vowed to myself I'd finish it. But I ended up being too busy making money and studying. I've been working aggressively and tirelessly, but I've also been making money and studying. The years have just been slipping and slipping by, and I always feel like I'm behind. I know it isn't true, but that's how it feels.
Failure? Yes, ma'am. That's an easy one.
Boy, that's one word he should know well.
How the hell is it Christmas again? Two Christmases ago, that's how long it's been now, I guess. I made what was then my magnum opus. An experimental essay-spective about Orson Welles. It's now demonetized for copyright reasons. They won't tell me why. Some AI thing, but whatever. It was this grand reflective thing where I looked through the life and work of Orson Welles, a filmmaker, playwright, poet, actor, champagne salesman, only to make a point about how futile the whole process is at the end. I can only ever see the image of the man that I see. At the very end, it is suggested that my obsession I had with Orson Welles at that time was merely a reflection of how I see myself, or at least some impossible, idealized version of myself. By the time he was my age, he took over Broadway and made the biggest commercial hit of his career. He was also supremely wealthy and white, so I shouldn't feel too bad, I guess. Many people would argue, and they'd be right, that what I've already done for myself is grand, huge, above average for people my age. I don't feel like it all the time. But I know that they're right in the grand scheme of things. Not many 22-year-olds can say they've built a kind of canon, have a fan base, a following that's interested in the nonsense they're writing. A canon of ideas that can be charted and documented. One of those things I've learned about myself, unfortunately, is I do have a kind of theory. I have a collection of ideas I've been building over the years. That's what I've learned doing this while actively trying to reinvent myself the whole time. Everyone basically has 2 or 3 things they think about, and when you make a body of work where you're genuinely throwing your ideas at the wall and lining them up next to each other, a central arc becomes clear. I hate that.
その時代と作者の心情をものの見事に表しています。これ俺書いたんか。あ、これね。こんなん見ちゃやられないね、これね。
I don't want to be that predictable, but I keep making some variation of performance, detachment, and uncertainty. Every single essay, video, or story I've written is about one or all 3 of these themes.
これはちょっと覚えてねえな。これは僕がものすごいスランプの時に書いたんです。スランプっていうか、もう最低のレベルの時に書いたんですね。
My creativity fundamentally comes from a place of uncertainty. The detachment is what gives me the freedom to think. It also gives me the misery. But it gives my ideas space to grow. Then the performance is when those ideas are brought to the world, because no matter how detached I feel, I'm always surrounded by people and things. I don't always see them, but they're there, until they're not.
Ah papà, a me sa che la vita non è niente.
Beh, certo, la morte è tanto. Quando uno è morto, tutto quello che doveva fare, l'ha belle fatto.
I hate performance. That's why I write about it all the time. I hate speaking, so I'm obsessed with language. People are always so far away, yet they're always there.
でもちろん読者には受けなかったしね。なんか陰湿だって言われましたね。これは陰湿で陰惨で非常に暗いって っていうわけですね。それは当然だと思うんです。
I like opposites and contradictions. Nothing and nobody is really contradictory. There is always a deeper truth that lies underneath it all. When you stop running away from the ambiguities and confusion, you'll find something there. I like to take my time. I need to take my time. How the hell is it Christmas again?
Hello, Jedediah. Hello, Charlie.
I don't think I've ever really spoken about the part of that essay that gave me mental breakdown. I've considered it to be my greatest work until I usurped it this summer. We don't need to get into that. But when editing the Orson Welles video, there was a part of it that, while editing, made me stop and sob uncontrollably for about an hour. It was like 1 a.m. This has never happened when I made anything before or since. I have cried writing a story half the time when I record these, but never such a strong reaction as the time when I edited my own death.
Well, all that's left, most artists seem to feel these days, is man. Naked.
I mentioned that half the point of that Wells video was that I was secretly writing about an impossible version of myself. One of the themes of that video was that I feel like the man, my version of him at least, put himself in a position of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Is that really your idea of how to run a newspaper?
I don't know how to run a newspaper, Mr. Thatcher. I just try everything I can think of.
Every great and terrible thing that happened to him throughout his career was because he on some level willed it to happen. Or not willed, not in some fatalistic or cosmic way. But he was reflective of himself, even from so young, to kind of know on some level, even if not consciously, where he was headed. Kane is so interesting, I say, because there is so much of that man and how his life ends up that is him. And he performed it when he was 25.
I'm Charles Foster Kane! I'm no cheap, crooked politician!
And the death of Kane, I would say, alone in his bed, having pushed everyone away from him, fallen from grace, is a grim mirror of how he ended up, alone in his apartment, fallen from grace, pushed away everyone around him, in pursuit of something. What that something was, maybe he himself didn't know. Passed out typing away at a project that no one was probably going to see. Orson Welles, solo. Editing that thing alone, in my room, having spent the entire month on that project, the entire December, not really having spoken to basically anyone during that time, right up to Christmas Eve when I uploaded it, and it bombed. Am I doomed?
金を稼ぎたいとかそういうのは全部論外。有名になりたいとも論外。映画が素晴らしい。映画が本当に素晴らしいのかどうかわからないじゃない。映画が好きだってのはただのそういう趣味でしょっていう。
The video suggests that I need to change something about myself, and I cannot continue on my current path. I know that. In my head. I even say it with my mouth. It's Christmas again.
What are you trying to get at in your work?
Jesus. I don't know. I don't work in terms of conscious messages. I can't do that. It has to be something that I'm revealing to myself while I'm doing it.
People say the more you say things, the truer they become. I might argue the more you say things in front of people, the faker they become. The more you exist in people's eyes, the less real you are, and the more a character is formed. And you can play into that character. But it is a character. You know the terrible thing? When the hurricane was coming, when all the white people on Twitter were saying that we're all gonna die, one of the first things I was thinking, wouldn't it be so metal if the last thing I uploaded was a video talking about how I lost faith in everything that ends in to be continued? Wouldn't it be so poetic if all my little possessions, my Blu-rays, my comic books, my little prints just washed away after a video where I talk about how ultimately meaningless it all is? Wouldn't that be something? That would give it meaning. Then it would be art. It would be loud. But here I am. I still have everything. And other people are wounded. Other people have lost everything. And have to live now, somehow. And somehow have to live now. Find some way to go on. Start over. Clean slate. Silence.
It's a mess. And it doesn't have to be this way, but it is the way it is. You know, I always say, have the suffering and the violence and all the things of human nature, negative and positive, in the script, in the film, in this book, but not in your life.
I reject fatalism because I really feel sometimes I might be doomed. I reject the romanticism of the tragic artist or the eccentric artist because I fit every single stereotype. Every single one. And most of my goats are miserable. They're miserable and work themselves to death. They isolate themselves and push people away, often die before being recognized. Maybe I just need new inspirations. But I see myself in them too much.
I asked him how come he didn't go to a counselor and get some psychiatric help, and I guess they did go 1 or 2 times. But he told me that he was afraid it would ruin the comic strip.
Making things brings me peace. But all too often, the place that work itself comes from is misery. My creativity fundamentally comes from a place of uncertainty and trying to confront the things that bring me anxiety or pain, you know. What kind of person does feel the need to endlessly spill their thoughts into ink, images, words, performance? A person who has too much going on up there and needs to get rid of some of it. There is no story without conflict. This video is entirely about existential angst.
People say, well, why couldn't you have Charlie Brown kick the football? Well, I could. It would make him happy. And happiness is neat. I wish we could all be happy. But unfortunately, happiness is not very funny.
My stuff always ends up being existentialist, incidentally, because of my own existential dread. But this one was openly, directly about existential angst. This is the first December in a long time, long time, where I haven't been depressed. Let's not look at the rest of the year, though.
People who run a set on fear or a business on fear, I say, are really stupid.
There are other ways to be an artist, I know that. In my head. And try to remove myself and indeed my mind from the entrapments. But Christmas time is here. The world is practically falling apart around me. And here I am. At the break of the year, I resolved that it would be mine. The misery of 2024 would not repeat itself. That I would accomplish everything. I couldn't that year. Then David Lynch died, California was at a blaze, the algorithm stopped caring about me, and half my country got washed away. And I am more teeming with creativity than ever.
Everybody knows that story, Mr. Leland, but why did he do it? How could a man write a notice like that?
You just don't know
Everybody-
Charlie. He thought that by finishing that notice, he could show me he was an honest man. He was always trying to prove something.
The Citizen Kane connection to Penis is so interesting. I'm more consistent than I thought. Or maybe not. Citizen Kane is called the greatest film of all time, and Peanuts is called the greatest comic strip of all time. Schultz clearly liked Kane. He reportedly watched it 40 times. I don't know what direct connections you can draw besides the name Charlie, except for maybe that cyclical tragedy of it all. The beginning is the end. It all rewinds and nothing changes. Besides maybe for the points of view of each character.
No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
I don't know how Wells felt about Peanuts. Wells and Tolstoy, those are Schultz's guys. Wells and Tolstoy.
What's happening?
The moving van is pulling out.
There's still a station wagon in the driveway. Run over there, Charlie Brown. Tell that little red-haired girl that you've always liked her. Find out where they're moving. Ask her if you can write to her. Tell her goodbye. Tell her hello and then tell her goodbye. Hurry, Charlie Brown. They're getting in the station wagon. Hurry!
Good grief.
I have a great distaste for forced happy endings. It feels cheap. A lot of the time, a little insulting. I first wanted to make a video about Peanuts years and years back when I thought I wanted to do a series about children's media. I wanted to talk about a boy named Charlie Brown because this may very well have been the first kids movie I saw after that Christmas special that had a kind of sad ending. Except it's not really sad. It's melancholic.
She's leaving, Charlie Brown. The station wagon's leaving. You'll never see her again. Do something. Run over there. Hurry. Hurry. She's gone.
Ugh.
Charlie Brown lives in a perpetual state of longing, perhaps we all do, and he's made that longing his home.
She's gone! You never do anything. All you ever do is just stand there. You drive everybody crazy, Charlie Brown. I'm so mad I could scream. I am screaming. And don't you give me any trouble.
What did I do? What's going
I
on?
just passed out. I'm still standing, but I passed out.
I don't know if Charlie Brown really wants the things he wants. I think maybe he did at first. When you're there so long, you start to attach yourself to that want. Charlie Brown wants to have friends. Then he makes them. He still wants to have friends. Charlie Brown wants to speak to the little red-haired girl. He lets her move away without saying anything. Already defeated. Already there. On the ground. He's made that ground his home. His favorite Tolstoy was War and Peace. He references it just as much as Kane. It's even in the 2016 animated film.
Marcie, thank goodness I found you. Can you help me find a copy of Leo's Toy Store?
Did you say Leo's Toy Store?
I haven't read War and Peace, but it cannot be any coincidence that I just read Anna Karenina. Just as in last year. This time last year. Last Christmas. I read Anna Karenina. It's my favorite book, maybe. Charlie wants to kick the football. He knows Lucy will pull it away, but he believes he wants to kick the football.
Come on, Charlie Brown. I'll hold the ball and you kick it.
Hold it? Ha! You'll pull it away and I'll land flat on my back and kill myself.
I don't know if he really wants to kick the football. I don't think he's as dumb as he lets on. I think he wants to kick the football.
Absolutely. Come on, Charlie Brown. It's a big honor for you.
A person should never turn down a big honor.
Because he doesn't know any other way to be. He wants to believe in humanity, even though he knows he's going to be disappointed. Linus continues to believe in the Great Pumpkin, even though he knows he probably isn't real. Lucy continues to sit by Schroeder, even though she knows he doesn't care about her. And Schroeder keeps her around, even though she supposedly bugs him.
Don't tell me I've grown accustomed to that face.
Peppermint Patty likes Chuck, even though she knows he's a schmuck. Marcie likes him too, but doesn't even seem to want to do anything about it. Everyone's a little stuck, because they don't know how to be any other way. They're frozen on the page. Their lives end when the credits roll. But they keep coming back. They keep doing the same things. And the things become the people. They become iconographic in their perpetual state of despair. Because, well, maybe that's the subtotal of their lives. But they keep going. And going. And going. And going. Without knowing what I am and why I am here, it is impossible to live. Yet I cannot know that and therefore can't live, he said to himself. In an infinity of time and in infinity of matter, in infinite space, a bubble organism separates itself, and that bubble maintains itself a while and then bursts. And that bubble is I. This is a distressing falsehood, but it was the sole and last result of centuries and the age-long labor of human thought in that direction. It was the latest belief. It was the ruling conviction, and from among all other explanations, Levin, without himself knowing when or how, had involuntarily chosen it, as being at any rate the clearest of all. But it was not only false, it was the cruel mockery of some evil power, a wicked and disgusting power, and one to which it was impossible to submit. It was necessary to free oneself from that power. The means of escape were in the hands of every man. An end to be put to that dependence on an evil power, and there was one means: death. And though he was a happy and healthy family man, Levin was several times so near to suicide that he hit a cord he had, lest he should hang himself, and he feared to carry a gun, lest he should shoot himself. But he did not hang or shoot himself, and went on living.
God put me on this earth to accomplish a certain number of things. Right now, I'm so far behind, I will never die.
I was alright this December. I was alright. I think we're all alive and we ought to do things. A lot of people are gone, and are gone for senseless reasons. There's hardly any sense in any of these things. It never does mean anything. But I think we're all alive now, and we ought to do things.
And from all over the world, children of all ages send drawings to Charles Schultz, drawings of their ideas of happiness.
Happiness is clean teeth. Happiness is watching a pretty sunset.
I feel tired. I've been getting very tired. Existing is exhausting, and I feel tired. I have the lethargy of an old man and the fear of a small child. I can't be bothered to do things sometimes. It's very difficult not to feel discouraged sometimes. But somehow, I still find myself getting up and doing things.
A little sister that doesn't cry at night. Eating a 500-pound marshmallow. Happiness is knowing how to comb your hair. Happiness is when you can take a bath by yourself.
If you could wish for anything, what would it be?
A big sunny field to be in.
A stupid field? You've got that now. Think big. Riches, power, pretend. You can have anything. Actually, it's hard to argue with someone who looks so happy.
Honk shoe, I'm dreaming about bitches right now. Fuck you, nigga.
Happiness is an emotion. It's a fleeting emotion that comes sometimes and goes just as often. It's not a place, it's a thing that visits, and when we aren't happy, we're longing for it. Most of life is not spent in happiness. It's spent in the whirlwind of other emotions, which come and go, swaying in the wind. And when you're cognizant of that, most of it is spent in longing, and most of it is spent in misery. But you still find yourself going, and going, and going. Sometimes that happiness comes, and everything makes sense for a while. Often it's not there, and you're still going.
幸せっていう、いや、自分の幸せのためにやってる意思が。普段幸せだななんて思ったことないんですよ、僕は。いや、そうじゃないの。 そんなことを目的に生きてるのかなととても思えないんだけど、だって映画やったら不幸になるに決まってんだ。それなのにもう次のやつを描きたいなと思ってんだからどうしていいかな。
Hey, Chuck. Looks like rain. I guess we're gonna have to postpone the game, Chuck.
No, we're not gonna postpone.
It's starting to rain, Charlie Brown. Aren't we gonna call the game?
No, we're not gonna call the game. So you might as well get back out there in center field where you belong.
Charlie Brown is not some aspirational figure like pop culture likes to make him out to be. He is a loser. He's a failure face. He's gullible. Even when the opportunity presents himself, he doesn't know how to be anything or anyone else. He's trapped in himself, and the fact that he's so misunderstood proves that his life ultimately has no real meaning. Has it ever occurred to you that that might be fine?
You're not gonna let a little rain bother you, are you? It's gonna let up. Come on back.
I think I've already said what I think the meaning of life is, indirectly at least. Many times in the past, many times in this very video, but I also say it knowing that I barely experienced anything and I could always change my mind. Posting these is embarrassing because I'm always refining my thoughts. I don't know if I'm changing my mind actually. Nothing's really contradictory. When you go to the heart of it, nothing's really contradictory. Everything comes from something, and those things never end. Things might take shape, have things added, get recontextualized, but things don't really end.
And I suppose you feel you let everyone down, and you made a fool out of yourself and everything. But did you notice something, Charlie Brown?
What's that?
The world didn't come to an end.
A Charlie Brown Christmas doesn't have a conclusion, not really. There's no real solution offered to the problem Charlie Brown is facing. You can discuss it and something clearly happens within him and all the characters by the end, but there is no real clear answer to any of this. Linus recites scripture and Charlie Brown walks off with his little tree. Not to celebrate baby Jesus, not to decry consumerism once and for all. In fact, he still tries to decorate the tree and immediately fails.
I've killed it. Oh, everything I touch gets ruined.
But something happens in everyone else.
I never thought it was such a bad little tree. It's not bad at all, really. Maybe it just needs a little love.
In speaking about Charlie Brown, I've spoken about several characters, all of which have completely different philosophies and approaches to life. None of them would exist without Charlie Brown, and none of them would exist without Charles Schulz. All these bits and pieces are scattered, and we are never given any clear answers. In fact, searching for clear answers only brings on more misery, more anxiety. But that doesn't need to be a bad thing. Gotta have a little fun, you know? We don't like that boredom.
We're in this thing together. We've got to start enjoying this trip.
When you die, you aren't really gone. You're never really gone. You never end. Things don't end. There are others around you. You invariably affect everything that has ever existed when you're gone, because you're never gone. You're always there. You could do it, the option is always there. But here you are. Feeling whatever you're feeling right now. Being wherever you are right now. About to feel what you're about to feel. For all its agony, its joy, all its futility. Here you are. Every breath you take is someone else's. You may not see it all the time, but it is. You don't see it all the time, but there's always that other person. We are always there.
Maybe it just needs a little love.
Your existence doesn't need to be justified or rationalized. Here you are. We don't love Charlie Brown for being hopeful, determined, or even resilient. We love him for being there.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown.
Take care of yourselves.